Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Colvin, and we've left Barnstable. We're in the town of Plymouth at Plymouth Municipal Airport. Behind me is one of the Collings Foundation's 3 World War II era aircraft that are here in Plymouth. We're going to get aboard in just a few minutes and fly to the Barnstable Municipal Airport. Well, they will be on display through Friday of this week. Vintage aircraft. We're talking to some veterans. We're talking to some people. We're going to have some images of the planes and images from the flight. Stay tuned.
This wing is a new design wing that is a very efficient wing. See, this whole airplane is a new design compared to these.
We are here at Plymouth Municipal Airport. Beautiful sunny day. We've got some vintage World War II aircraft behind us, and we've run into Dr. Michael Gold, a veteran. Talk to us, Michael, a little bit about yourself. Tell us about yourself. What brings you here today?
Well, first of all, I'm 92 years old, and luckily I have all my marbles, I think. I not as mobile as I once was, but otherwise I'm in pretty good shape. Uh, During World War II, I was a navigator on a B-17. I was shot down over Germany, spent 16 months in a German POW camp, and I'm Jewish. So you have some idea of what I went through in POW camp.
I'm sure.
After the war, I was lucky enough to have the GI Bill, which took me through 4 years of college, 2 years of medical school. I became an obstetrician, delivered some 3,000 babies, married one of my ex-patients, and here I am.
Wonderful. And you are here at the airport today looking fantastic in your uniform. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like to see these planes again.
Well, the thing is, I'm going to fly on one of them today.
Excellent.
I was lucky enough to know a man by the name of John Burton, who arranged for me to fly on a B-17. And I'm looking forward to flying from here to Hyannis, Cape Cod.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today, and we'll see you up there in the air.
Exactly. Looking forward to that.
Thank you so much. Dr. Michael Gold joining us here at Plymouth Municipal Airport.
Bye-bye.
And now we're here with Lieutenant Frank Tedesco, and you are actually a veteran pilot of these planes. You fly this plane, or a plane. Have you flown this very plane that we're standing in front of?
Yes, in the beginning, I helped restore this particular plane. That's why I've been connected with it. But when I was in the service, I was with the 15th Air Force out of Italy, and I flew 35 combat missions in the B-24. What we were doing was hitting the most important targets in that area. From southern Italy, we could hit most important targets in the whole area of southern part of Europe, from France to the Balkans.
Wow.
And speaking of the Balkans, one of our most critical targets was the Ploesti oil fields in Romania. The Germans were getting probably 40% of their fuel for their war machine from the refineries in the Ploesti area. So that became a very important target. My first mission was to Ploesti, and I realized how important it was by the amount of anti-aircraft fire they put up, which is obvious. But it took 9 missions to put that whole area of Ploesti out of business. And that gives you an idea of how important and how large it was.
Absolutely. So what can you tell me about this plane, about the Witchcraft? What kind of an aircraft is this?
This is a newer designed aircraft than the B-17. It has a lot of features that, as a pilot, I liked. It has a nose wheel, for instance, instead of a tail dragger. It has a very efficient wing. That's what made this airplane. It's called the Davis airfoil. Davis apparently is the guy that had a lot of time making the determination on the aerodynamics. But what happens is, since it is a very efficient wing, we get high speeds out of the airplane, higher speed, but it's a more difficult airplane to control. And I didn't know that when I was flying it. I learned that when I came home and started reading magazines about this airplane. They all said the same thing, very difficult airplane to fly. Well,
Did you
in
find
the,
that to be the case? Did you think it was hard to fly?
in the service, there's an expression, being fat, dumb, and happy. And that's what I was. No one told me it was difficult to fly. I knew when I was transitioning into it that the control, pressures on the control, it took a lot of strength to fly it. But once you learn how to trim the airplane, there are little devices on the wings and elevators and so forth, that little flaps that you can put up and down that will help take the pressure off the control column. Otherwise, the airplane, it's a great airplane, and anybody that flew an airplane that kept getting them back, I'm sure they'll tell you that it's the greatest airplane.
It really is, and it's just amazing that it's here and that they're still functioning. So, what is it like for you to be able to still see this airplane up and running and flying and being able to ride aboard it? What's it like for you?
Well, it brings back a lot of memories.
Absolutely.
And I'm very happy to think that I had something to do with restoring one of them. I never thought I would see another B-24 after I left Europe. When I got home, one of the things I did was to ferry B-24s from Holland, Texas, up to Altus, Oklahoma, which is a huge expanse of B-24s as far as you could see in any direction, just waiting to be scrapped. And they were scrapped.
Wow.
They built 18,500 of these because they were losing so many. The turnover rate was great. So no one had the foresight to think that maybe you ought to save a few of these. The Reconstruction Finance Company bought them all. When we delivered them up there, we'd get a receipt for a B-24. That's something to think about when you get older.
Definitely.
I got a receipt for a B-24. That's pretty good. But eventually, that's what would happen to them. They'd take the engines out, of course.
Right.
And up to this day, they are being rebuilt down in Texas and areas, so that if you lose an engine here, you take this one out and you ship it down to these outfits, and they will send you a completely restored engine to put back in. I'll be honest with you, when I first came back, I found that I didn't talk too much about what I did and what was going on. I don't know what the result or what the reason for that is, but I think now that I think about it, it's probably because I really didn't think a person would understand really what I'm talking about.
Right.
How can I understand what a mission is like, really like? What do you feel and what experience it, unless you've experienced it yourself? So
Right,
I have a lot of the veterans who have done what I have done come in here, and they'll tell me the same thing. I never talked to my wife about this. The same reason, he knows his wife is not going to be able to understand really what he's talking about.
Right.
So he figures, what's the use?
But I think that, knowing the history and at least being able to tell your story could be important. And I think even though people won't fully understand, at least they'll be able to kind of get a sense of what it was like.
But I found doing what I'm doing for 13, 14 years with this, there are more people who are interested now than ever before. And that makes it worthwhile to me to come here every day and spend all my days talking to people, because I can see the interest in it. They don't know all the little details that entail flying this thing, all the things that could happen to it.
Right.
The conditions under which we flew, the cold temperatures, 40 to 50 degrees
Right.
below zero.
And there's no heat on these planes.
It's just
No flight attendants, no heat.
no heat in there, and we're on oxygen all the time, and it's just most uncomfortable.
Exactly. But I think it's great to be able to have this living piece of history here, to really be able to see and to come up close and personal, and to be able to talk to people like you, Frank. Really very important. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome.
We have lots of World War II veterans here at Plymouth Municipal Airport for the Wings of Freedom tour, and I've got another one here. Your name, sir?
Jones, DeWitt Jones.
So, Mr. Jones, tell me a little bit about what it's like for you to be out here today and seeing these aircraft.
Well, I'm enjoying it very much to see what it used to be. I flew on one of these. The last time I was in a B-24 flying was 68 years ago.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I started flying. I started doing combat in February of '44, and I flew 31 missions by July of '44. Not always in the same airplane, but with the same crew largely. And then I went into intelligence work. So I did photography, radar photography. But I did 31 missions in 5 months. That was pretty fast.
Definitely, that seems like a lot of
I
missions
was a
in that time.
navigator, and I used to use these windows right here.
So what did being a navigator entail? What did you have to do? Watch the charts and things like that. How does it work?
Yes, and we had to plan what from headquarters. We'd get a very general statement of where we were going and what we were going to do, but we would have to refine it down for ourselves. And we'd have charts, and we'd have maps and things of this kind. And I flew from the South Atlantic on my way overseas, from Fortaleza in South America to Dakar in North Africa, and then from Dakar up to at my age I'm beginning to forget places, but we'd fly up to England and very soon get to our own base. And but most of the time crossing the ocean, that was my job as a navigator. Once we got into combat, I didn't have quite as much responsibility. We would fly with other planes. But I will tell you an interesting story. We'll have to. Jimmy Stewart, that was in my outfit, and he
Really?
yes, and he was a lead navigator, a pilot, and he flew with us one time, or several times, but one time he flew with us, and I didn't know it. He had taken my co-pilot's place, and my co-pilot would sit up there. But there's a dome, and navigators would use the dome to shoot the stars with. Well, this time I didn't know that it was there. I thought I was looking at my co-pilot, but looking out of that dome at the pilot's seat up there, I thought it was my co-pilot, so I thumbed my nose at him. And I'm almost the only person that's ever thumbed a nose at Jimmy Stewart.
At Jimmy Stewart. So did you fly several missions with Jimmy along on the plane as well?
He was with us on several missions, not as a pilot, but as a command pilot.
Command pilot.
Yeah.